Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Absolutely. My name's Hassan, and I'm joined here by the one and only Neb. Yes, from all those crazy Twitter threads that we read here on the channel, Neb is here, and we're going to review Superman and Lois. Neb, how did you like the
All
first two
right.
episodes of Superman and Lois?
I need to clarify that I really dragged my feet just to get to watch this show. I literally only did it because you asked me to be on this podcast. Actually, it.
Wow.
I just.
Okay,
It's
Mr.
so. It's so.
CW fan.
I know. I know. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's really good. I loved both episodes, and I think the last one was the best the series has ever had, actually. And I don't know how they did it. That, I
Are
see
you
your problems
messing
with
with
that.
me?
No, I'm completely serious.
Okay, wait, no,
But
continue. I thought you were
I
doing a
love
bit.
the.
Go.
Oh no, I'm completely serious. Although I'm curious if you disagree with that. I don't know, just everything works for me. And I could relate to like several things going on in the episode. For me, I feel the first season of the show it was great, but they kind of overdid a lot of the emotional stuff where, like Clark would be beaten down pretty heavily by whatever's going on. It's been a while, and they would just have some emotional montage of his family, and everything would be fine. And they just kind of kept doing that, and they did it in the finale, and I was just so numb to it. And they kept doing it in season two as well. And I was just so numb to everything, and that season sort of fell off anyway. But like, there's something about this episode, like, they actually just got me to, like, start crying. Like, it actually got the emotion that it wanted. And yeah, I was just they really pulled it off. I was really surprised by that. I love everything about it so far.
Okay, so that's mainly about episode two. And then for the
Yeah.
the premiere of the season, how'd you feel about that?
Yeah, I was surprised by the premiere as well because there's obviously a lot more action to it. But I know they always put everything into the premiere with the CGI and everything. You really want to nail the first episode of every season. But it was kind of crazy. It was just like Man of Steel again. Like
The flight,
it,
right? The early
yeah,
flight scene of Jordan and Clark going to the fortress, the water fortress.
right. I wasn't even
Crazy.
thinking about that, but yeah, that scene too. Like, and when they there was that building when it was raining at night, like that was a whole sequence. And then they had both of those things, and all I could think about is just something else completely. But like those two take so much effort, and then you have a Man of Steel fight later on, so like it's just so impressive.
Did you know
It's
who directed it?
no, actually, who did?
Oh, this is for the CW archivalist. This is going to be great. Tom Cavanaugh was the director of that episode.
Yeah, right.
Reverse Flash made
Yeah,
Superman look incredible.
it's so fun. The CW actor to episode director pipeline is so interesting to me.
It's huge. And then the
It's
second
Daniel
episode,
Panabaker.
yeah, Daniel Panabaker, and then the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger to CW director
Uh,
pipeline. Amy Jo
uh,
Johnson directed
it,
stuff last season,
that
the
felt
original Pink
so
Ranger.
random. I still don't know how that happened or why,
It's
but
so
yeah.
random, but she's been getting into directing, and I think her episodes are pretty good. This last
Oh yeah.
episode was directed by Elizabeth Henstridge, aka Gemma Simmons from Marvel's Agents of Shield. So, a lot
I
of
feel like I
veteran
knew this at
actors.
some point. Did she do a season two, episode two? Is that why?
She did a season two episode. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
that's so funny because the Agents of Shield cast met Supergirl that one time, and I that was like, I remember back in the day, it was like the Arrowverse and Agents of Shield were kind of running side by side, and they got overshadowed after all the Netflix shows came out. But that was like a big deal,
It
like the
was a
two of
big
them.
era. I remember how
Yeah.
exciting Age of Shield was when it dropped, and it's it's really cool. And I talked to Alex Garfin about it, the kid who plays Jordan Kent, in the interview I did. But it's like a really great experience to have an actor that's been in the shoes as a director, because there really is like it is. Obviously, directors that used to be editors are more helpful to the editors. Directors that used to
Mm,
be this like production, but that's like an actor's director essentially, who really
right.
help like guide the performances in a very meaningful way. So really loved that. I could feel that energy in these two episodes. My take on it, I really liked
Hmm.
the first episode. It's really well done. I think we introduced Michael Bishop as the new Jonathan Kent really well.
Oh, he's
Uh,
so good. Yeah, yeah.
he's great. He has the grit that Jordan Ellis had prior, and I think he brings a softness to the role that brings him more akin to Alex Garfin. I think that now they seem,
That's exactly it. Yes.
yeah, they're like brothers now.
Yeah.
Like they feel more like
Yeah,
brothers.
thank you. Yeah, I my biggest problem, it, like it's just one of those things with Hollywood, right? Where you just have to suspend your disbelief because like obviously they're not twins and they're never
Yeah.
going to be. But also he the previous actor, he just felt like he was several years older than Alex Starfin.
Yeah.
Uh, so it felt way more like an older younger brother dynamic, and I kept forgetting that they were supposed to be twins, and like believing that they were like 15 as well. That was also ridiculous. But now it's like they still don't look 15, right? But
Yeah.
it's just way
Well,
more
they're 16 now, Neb.
immersive.
So
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
they had a year. They had a
yeah.
birthday.
Now everything makes sense. But yeah, is they look. I believe it now. Like that's
Yeah.
not a problem anymore because I had to ignore it before, and now it's just like okay, yeah, this feels like how it should have been the whole time.
Yeah. And I loved Jordan Ellis. I really did. I thought his like you really want him to win because of just who he is as a character and how he carries himself on screen.
Mhm.
Because like he didn't have the powers, and Jonathan Kent is foretold to be the guy with the powers. We all read the comics. Like, come
It's
on.
so confusing.
So it's annoying. Also, the fact that the actor's name was Jordan Ellis, but his co-star Alex Garfin is playing Jordan Kent, and he's playing Jonathan Kent. It was the most frustrating thing. Now we got a guy named Michael Bishop. Michael Bishop, we can't get that confused. Totally separate.
I have to pause whenever I talk about this show because I can't get it right every single time I'm talking about them. It's like it was just a baffling decision
It
with the
is
names, but whatever.
so it was so stressful, and like Alex Garfin is like a genuinely good friend of mine, but even as a
Mhm.
good friend of mine, I have fumbled up his character name before, and then like
Yeah,
yeah, and
like
like we
he's
had to
just
make sure to
Jonathan,
not call
right?
him Superboy in the interview because he's
Oh,
not
really?
Superboy, because that's not a thing, and he was like,
Right,
that's the
yeah.
one thing we got to make sure we don't have on there, and I was like, okay, I got it locked in.
Not super. All right.
But yeah, the premiere was really good. I think like setting it to the stage of um, Lois being pregnant, also Lois Superman getting busy. Yeah, you love to see it.
Yes.
You because like there's like a believable sexual chemistry going on here versus
Right.
like when Barry and Iris have any scenes where they're like laying in bed together and you're like, I hope they just were taking a nap. I hope they didn't touch each other. Like this feels uncomfortable. And then it's Superman and Lois, like, okay, they're both beautiful, stunning, hardworking parents. They deserve a little fun at Superman's evil brother billionaire's secret house somewhere around the world.
Right. It's because personally, I never like I always liked Barry and Iris together, but I feel like it was sort of a tonal clash whenever they tried intimate stuff.
Yeah,
Whereas in this show, it sort of has that warm vibe to it where it feels more natural, and it's also because Tyler Hoechlin and Elizabeth Tollett, right?
yeah.
They're they're like what, like a decade older than Grant Gustin and Candace Patton. I didn't check first. It feels more natural in a way.
You know what? That's
Um,
a great question because I actually think they all might be the same age.
that'd be really funny.
Tyler, well, I'm gonna
Yeah.
Google it because what do you call it? I saw an image recently that put Tyler Hoechlin next to the woman who played XS played
That is
uh
my tweet, actually.
yeah, okay. Yeah, guess who's older? Yeah, Tyler Hoechlin's
Yeah.
35 right now, and Grant Gustin age. He's 33, so they're only 2 years apart.
Oh
Dang,
my
Tyler
god.
Hoechlin's a unit. Oh my
He went
god.
through a lot on the Teen Wolf set, I guess.
Yeah, he did. They
My
really
god.
aged him up. And then Elizabeth Tulloch. I like
Yeah,
her.
I checked
It's
her too because I was looking at all the ages just to make something funny with
okay, she's
Nora's
older.
actress.
She's
But
42.
yeah, yeah. And it's just, they feel a lot more natural together because they really captured the mom and dad vibe in a
Yeah.
much more natural way. Because Barry and Iris never necessarily got to do that in
No,
the
it
best
was very
way.
forced
Just,
and like a
yeah, because it's like,
poor
I mean,
contrivance
literally in
writing
the
stuff.
plot, yeah. Whereas it feels way more natural here because, it was just from the ground up. So it
Yeah.
was just never going to work foundationally for the Flash in the same way. So it
Turns
just
into a little bit
benefits
of a
the show a
flash
lot more.
discussion, but I fully
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, because
I
it's
feel like
like
every discussion ends up this
it
always like
always does, and it's this weird it's this weird mix of like there have been intimate romances on the Flash that I believed more early on. Like I definitely bought more into Linda and Barry, even though I think it's crazy they used Linda
oh my
Park because like
god.
they had great chemistry on screen and they had like a whole joke about Barry coming too fast, which I think is maybe one of the funniest thing they ever did on that show, but they did. Um, so that and then Grant and oh my gosh, Chantel Van Stanton, Patty Spivot had
Right,
great chemistry too, and they had like a couple of sexual-ish scenes, and I was like, this chemistry, and even you don't want them to end up together, but I do. I like
right.
you love the energy of Felicity and Barry too because they had like
Yeah.
really fun chemistry on screen as friends, and I like that there was like a little bit of romance and then friendship. But we'll get back to Superman and Lois, but I'm sure it's in
Yeah, yeah,
feel
of
the
course.
same way. And I also think casting young for obviously they're not 15-year-olds, but
Mhm.
They were cast. I mean, like around when they were casted, they were
Yeah.
like much closer in age to the roles because they are. I want to say Alex is a little bit younger than me, but not like a ton.
Yeah,
Um,
they still look pretty young. Even the previous actor, it's just 15 is such a leap, and now 16.
yeah,
So it definitely it's still better than kids having a job, right?
yeah.
So it's just no big deal. But yeah,
um,
they
but
definitely
yeah,
pretty good
I'm
casting.
been really really excited to talk about it because I love Superman and Lois. I personally think it's leagues above the Flash in a lot of ways of quality, especially maybe like earlier seasons of Flash or something beautiful and something special. But where we're at now, it's a Power Rangers show. It looks like I'm watching the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Every once in a while, it have like a cool piece of dialogue or a cool special effect or a cool line delivery, but it's very camp. Superman and Lois doesn't feel like that. I feel like I'm watching a show with a budget and a story to tell.
Yeah.
Episode 2, while the emotional beats for Lois landed really, really well, I'm struggling with the kids' emotional situations in the writing because I really don't understand Jordan, not Jordan. Wait, no, Jordan. Yes, I really don't understand Jordan and Sarah's relationship. I like didn't remember that they broke up at the end of last season. I know she cheated on him last season,
Hmm.
and then she got really upset with him for not understanding that she was exploring her sexuality, and that's okay in the confines
Right.
of a relationship, which
Right.
is not good.
You
Um,
know.
and I
uh,
don't know where they're going with that. Like I wish it was more concise. And now they're like best friends, and they've had this conversation 3 times in 2 episodes now, which feels really jarring. Because those actors have a good chemistry. I think she's really fun, and her writing and like her family dynamic is really really interesting. I like that Hot Lana Lang is getting it on with John Henry
yeah.
because they're gorgeous.
It's funny, this show has to pander to every demographic who might be interested in it, as opposed to the other shows that are just young adult stuff, right?
Yeah,
But with this, it's like you got to capture, Superman fans. Like older people are gonna want to watch a Superman show, and you have to, that's why Stranger Things always has like three ongoing plot lines in every season with different like age ranges, because you have to bring in everybody. So this show always really balances it well. Because, like, yeah, I really care about Lana Lang. Like, I haven't read many Superman comics, but like, yeah, she's really entertaining, and like the the divorce plot line is a bit like I don't really care about the dad
yeah.
really, but you know, it's not bad. I would say
They're
it's just
trying really
kind of like
heavily to
it was too
redeem
much.
him, and I think it was in their best interest what they did last season of like, please just break them up for good. Because you
Yeah,
can maybe redeem him as an individual, but you can't redeem him in the confines of that relationship. There's no,
right.
and I hope they never build towards a getting back together sequence because he in theory cheated on her for years while their daughter was suicidal. I think that's what they were going for is that
Yeah, the
daughter
optics
got
aren't
suicidal.
great.
Yeah, no, not great. And I think they originally put Kyle Cushing in the show as kind of the Republican conservative man, working
Mhm.
dad who's supporting the billionaire who's destroying the town because, hey, they know what they're doing. Elon Musk is going to fix Twitter,
Right.
like
Yeah.
kind of style thing. And that didn't work out. And now they've tried to soften him. I dig the storyline with Beppo. It's kind of fun that they have like a little romance. I
It was
didn't
really
care
funny.
for it
I'm
at
not gonna
first.
lie.
Episode 2 was really good. Like with them, with like the little piece of dialogue they had where he was like, I'm sorry you had to deal with this. And then his ex-wife walks up, the mayor of the town, and it's like, oh, whoa, I forgot this was happening. Wowza.
Yeah. It was,
um,
for such a funny, contrived drama thing they're doing. It's like I watched enough CW. It's okay.
yeah.
Like it's funny. Who cares?
And it's on the top shelf of like what the drama is that we'd have to deal with. Um,
Right.
the party sequence wasn't my favorite. I didn't like the I actually and it's me for continuity. I forgot that they were talking about Jonathan's ex-girlfriend in Metropolis. I thought they were
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about his Smallville girlfriend and that they broke up and I was like they were kicking the can at the party. Like what happened?
Yeah.
That was last
And
episode.
even it's been so long. It's like I still wasn't sure. It's like were they talking about like the drug dealer from season two,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like
And
I
then
didn't
that's his
remember that there
current
was a
Smallville girlfriend. Like she's still his
yeah.
girlfriend. And
Okay, I didn't pick up on that, and I didn't remember that there was a whole season one thing.
yeah.
They really overestimate like these shows don't necessarily stay in your mind when they're off the air for a
Well,
year.
and they're not
It's
like
just it's
airing
a lot.
frequently. These shows have
Yeah,
also been like indicative of like probably the longest hiatuses of like ever in history of these shows. They usually churned out like butter 23 episodes, but they're shorter seasons and they air more infrequently and they have longer breaks in between episodes. So, yeah, it's definitely that was That was contrived. I didn't care for that, but also like I guess it's to show Jonathan's growth as a character, but it's like I never once thought he'd be a skeevy cheater in the first place. So I don't know what they're trying to show me with that. Um the party scenes, it was certainly interesting. I really like Natalie. I like love
Oh, I love
her.
Natalie so much. Yeah.
I love her, and the actress is incredible. I want Alex to introduce me to her at some point just so we could be friends because she seems so genuine and sweet. And then like the when those three are together as siblings, when it's like Jonathan, Jordan, and her, and they're because they are technically like a version of siblings.
Yeah, yeah.
It works so well. It
I
works
love it so much,
so
yeah.
so well.
Just the character of John Henry Irons is already like one of the coolest people in comics, and it's just I've happened to read a few things with him. It just you can't get any cooler than him, really. Just
Yeah.
like him in that big ass suit, and then his daughter is just there's a lot of unexplored potential there. Like she's been in a lot of things, but just I remember I first was introduced to her in the Injustice comic books, and I
Mm,
thought she was like an original character for that because I had just never seen her before. I was like, oh, they should bring her to the main continuity. I had no idea she's been there since like before the New 52. You know all that. She's been around for a
that's
while.
crazy. I didn't even
Um,
know that.
yeah, yeah. She went by a few different names. It was the whole thing. But yeah, she's really cool. And she's definitely my favorite supporting character on the show. Right? She'd be supporting.
Yeah,
Um, it was
for
just
sure.
and
I
my favorite parts of season two were when she got the suit and everything. It
She
was
was
just
I mean, she was frustrating in the first couple episodes of season 2 because I think they were giving her that, like, I'm angry storyline where it's like, I'm
yeah,
communicative, I don't wanna get to the bottom of the problem, I just wanna be mad, which is, like,
yeah. The
a very
Cisco,
valid don't talk about that around here. Okay, don't talk around Cisco being like, "You
my
killed
fault,
my
my fault.
brother that's definitely been dead in this timeline, and you went back in time to save your mother, and she's also dead and whatever, and my brother was a villain." Doesn't matter.
Like, bro, get
Um
over it.
yeah, sorry, dude. I'm
Goddamn.
struggling. Um, yeah, she's so fun, and she was definitely annoying early on, and then I think the moment they dialed in on all of them kind of being a family unit, it works really well. Like John Henry Irons is the uncle to the boys and
Right.
the dad to her, and Lois is a surrogate mother and like basically the sister of her dead mom. Like that's like a good way to put it. That's like an interesting like biological dynamic because that is like that's what her mother looks like. I really like they ended up giving her like a grandfather, and he's like, I'd like to get to know you. Like you're the granddaughter of a different version of me. So there's a lot to love. If I could change anything, I would change the helmet on the steel costumes really badly. I don't like the Doom helmet.
It's weird because I actually like that because I think his helmet is really kind of outdated in the comics a little
I
bit.
would like to give him
Like,
something that has more character than the Doom one. Not
yeah,
necessarily
yeah,
the comic book steel face. Like that's kind of weird.
that's
Maybe
fair.
give him like a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers mask. I don't know. Give
That
him
would work.
something.
Yeah, just
You
a
know.
different kind of visor.
um,
'Cause, Power
but
Ranger suits are pretty good for using as like a blueprint. They've done so many helmet designs. It's like you definitely find something that's like it literally just looks like the Doom suit. You're not even exaggerating. It's just you can paint it green and it might as well be the same
it
thing.
is. It's literally the Doom soup. But yeah, I'm a so far been a big fan of everything. I did notice something that I don't like, and
Mm,
and maybe not don't like, but I need to sit with this for a little bit. Superman is very one note in this, and I think that's fine because that's kind of who he is. Like him in
yeah,
the
yeah.
comics, he's one note, but when you're playing with this emotional gambit of characters where Lois is going through a lot and she has her emotional experience and she's learning and she's done wrong things and the boys are always learning and they're growing and like it's weird to have a character that is the infallible god that can do no wrong. And I'm not saying it's bad because this is what Superman has always been. But this episode really stood out to me kind of feeling it the whole time because you're never like, will Superman say, will Clark say or do the wrong thing? And you never feel that in the show versus Smallville. And I think this is a Smallville choice, not to say this is better, but that show, Clark was kind of an idiot. He was kind of like a bumbling dumbass who would like fall into doing the right thing and show up at the right place, but he was never particularly intelligent. And now this is like, a 20-year Superman veteran. But yeah, Tyler, I love him. And he's him as Superman is my favorite. Like I adore him. He's my Superman to the nth degree,
Yeah,
but
I'm not
felt
sure if he's
weird
my
to.
favorite, but definitely up there. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
can see why you'd think that because, every other character just has like so much more to do emotionally, whereas he just has to be the rock for the family. And it's just, yeah, it's like I was surprised in the final scene where they really like swell the music and everything and they sort of deafen whatever dialogue's happening and it just
Yeah.
cuts to Clark crying a little bit. It's just like, yeah, that was like I felt like the first time in the season he was really and that's not true. Like he showed emotion throughout both episodes, but it just it felt noticeable.
Yeah.
because everybody else has so much going on.
It was a beautiful performance, and I also like if I could add one thing to the show or alter one thing, Clark needs a best friend. He needs somebody that's
You're
not
right.
Lois
Yeah.
to like share those emotional beats with. I think it should be John Henry. I think they already have like a really funny, playful
Mhm.
dynamic, but like Clark
I agree
going to
with
John
that.
Henry to cope and to like sit and have a drink would be really well done. I think that's what I'm missing. Maybe I don't have an issue with him being that way, but I'd like to see him kind of go through the emotional gambit and like talk through it. I think he's just doing the right thing. Maybe a Jimmy Olsen would be great.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I was thinking because I didn't realize it until you brought it up. But yeah, he doesn't have anybody to have that dynamic with necessarily.
yeah, and Lois
Like,
has Beppo and Lana
yeah, yeah,
and the kids, and then Jordan has Sarah and Jonathan. Jonathan has Jordan, Sarah, Natalie, and like everyone has four people, and then there's Clark, and
yeah.
he's always
And
on his
Clark is
own.
just he's always on his own. So I was like, we're gonna get through this as a family. It's like, yeah, I know. Like you'll be fine, guys.
Were
It's
you
just
shocked about the Lois Lane pregnancy to cancer storyline?
so honestly, no, I knew about it beforehand. I know some people, and I was just really curious what was going on. But I was surprised by how much it hit me personally. Like, I feel like everybody probably has dealt with cancer in some way, whether themselves or just somebody in their family is ended. It I feel like it's a really important storyline to have. I can't think of any other storyline like this in a comic book show, unless I'm forgetting something. I mean, there have been
Definitely not
side
a
characters,
CW
but
show. Definitely
yeah,
not a CW
yes,
show.
there definitely been
Felicity in the wheelchair is
side
the
characters.
closest they get.
Right, right. Anyway, let's not get into that. Yeah, and so I think it's really important to have a storyline like this for a main character, uh, where it's just, especially in a show like this, it hits so much more because like it's funny. I saw some comments on the subreddit where it's like, Superman would have noticed the cancer in her body because he has X-ray vision. It's like, what?
What kind of freak? Wake up
Like,
in the
yeah,
morning and I X-ray my wife. I look through her
right.
bones and her innards. It just gets me going.
Like,
You know?
and it's somebody legitimately said, we have dogs that smell cancer. He would have smelled the cancer. It's like, what are you saying? Just stop, just for a moment. It's a TV show. She has cancer. The best part of it is how powerless Clark has to be in this scenario. He can't do anything for once in his life. Like that's
Yeah.
great. That's a really wonderful
That's such good
opportunity.
that's such good writing. Because
Yeah,
then maybe I'll get what I want. We'll put him in an emotional situation where he simply has to feel out his feelings and maybe get angry. I'd love to see this Superman get a little rageful, just a little bit. Not
yeah,
no Zack Snyder Justice League through the mountain, putting people through buildings, but
yeah. Because
just a pinch of
firstly,
like
it's like,
he's fighting somebody awful and they say something about his wife and goes, "Don't do that," and like punches him super hard and like it goes too far, like a pinch. No
yeah.
one dies. This isn't a killer
It's
Superman, but a pinch.
because he had those moments in season one, or maybe it's just one moment, but when he gets shot with the kryptonite bullets and he has that really cool shot where his eyes go up and they're just extremely red and looks like he's about to incinerate like several soldiers. That was a highlight of season one for me. And it feels more impactful in the show because he's just normal Superman otherwise. Like he's just like,
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Clark Kent," So it's a lot more impactful when he actually does it. And it's like I don't mind like I love the Snyder movies, honestly. Yeah, hot take. And it's yeah, your eyes went
Hey,
crazy.
hey, hey, hey. We all have our
I'll keep it
opinions.
out of this podcast.
No, no, you're
Um,
fine.
but yeah, but yeah, it's just I'm all for variety and how Superman can behave or anything. I'm not too like upset, whenever they change characters in a certain way because I think it can be really interesting.
Oh, for
But it's
sure.
definitely a value in like just it's like the Christopher Reeve Superman that everybody knows, and you can modernize that a bit. And yeah, when he's so nice all the time, it's like it's gonna be way more interesting when he's angry all of a sudden
Yeah.
because it's uncharacteristic.
They had a
So it
moment
really
last
helps the
season
show out.
where his powers were on the fritz and he like yells at Jordan once and like slams his
Yeah,
fist in the car. Okay. That moment showed like Tyler Hoechlin is a scary Superman because he feels so
yeah,
much like Superman that you can be scared of him. Like he's
right.
legitimately a terrifying figure. So hope they lean more into that. I thought it was done really beautifully. The Lois storyline, like it was heartbreaking. Definitely a little frustrated that Lois wouldn't talk about it soon enough, but it's such a heavy topic and it's such a heavy burden.
Yeah,
Um,
where it's like I was like screaming at her to tell Clark, but I knew exactly why she wouldn't.
yeah,
That's what great writing is, right? It's like you're mad, but like you get why, and it's like you can't say like the character wouldn't do that because like
Right.
of course like you
The
totally get the
motivations
motivation.
all track and everything makes sense. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think there's much more to say. CGI looks beautiful. The fighting
Um.
looks crazy. Looks
Yeah.
crazy
How do
in
you feel
this.
about onomatopoeia?
So far, cool. I know primarily an Arrow villain. Crazy never was on Arrow. I know why, but yo,
I just cannot imagine the process creatively that led to this character being adapted of all things in a
I
Superman
have
show is
no
so funny
idea,
to me.
but it's cool. I'm
Very
not
cool.
super familiar with onomatopoeia like at
Yeah,
all, so I just
yeah.
know that they
Me
were a
neither.
Green Arrow
But
villain. I'm excited. The Sonic thing is cool. The scene where onomatopoeia blows up the window in Lana's office,
yeah,
incredible CG. Like like there's force movement on the camera. The glass blows off. They fall over. It was beautiful. It was stunning.
yeah,
So,
because it's important to know that, like, in the comics, he's literally just like a serial killer who, like, kind of just does that as like a gimmick, or he doesn't do that. He just says, word blurbs. That's all he talks. Um, and they just changed it to like, or I don't know if like he's metahuman in this show or it's like a tech mask or something like that. Either
yeah,
way, it's just does not have those abilities in the comics, and that's why he was so unadaptable. But just turning him into a sort of like like supersonic, just character is just really threatening, sort of like some Slender Man sort of thing. Just
yeah,
it's really interesting as a threat for Superman because I couldn't believe that, like, he would actually beat Superman, but it's definitely something I've never seen him have to face before in live action that
yeah.
I can recall. It's a really cool idea.
It'll be
Just
a cool
yeah,
matchup to see.
yeah. Oh, Bruno Mannheim as well.
Yeah.
How did
Oh my
you,
god, he's been great. He's been great. He's
yeah.
it's a very cool take. I like that he was like, "And never come back into my house again." It's like you can't make those statements. That guy's God. But I respect you putting your foot down. Okay.
Right, that actor commands such a presence, like, I know they're gonna introduce Lex later on,
Yeah.
but Bruno Mannheim in this one episode is like, Lex is just kind of like, you're not as cool anymore. Like,
Yeah.
instantly, Bruno's like my favorite antagonist the show's ever had. Just recent Arrowverse, just characters in general. Something about his interesting. Just like, I believe this guy. I want him to get what he wants. I do not care. Like
Yeah.
he's so good.
He makes his case. When he talks about suicide slums and all that, makes his case really well. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that's going to be it for this episode of Absolutely, just because it's
All right.
Superman and Lois, and we can talk about it. We might just do these in 2 episode batches. I know people aren't crazy interested in it, but I think it's fun to talk about it's the first Superman show we've literally gotten in the modern age. That's not Smallville, which is a Clark show, not a Superman show.
Right. Just actually
So,
the titular character, not just
actually,
10 seasons of trying to become the character.
oh, we're gonna get into that someday. But until then, my name's Hassan. This has been Neb's Good Takes from Twitter. And this is Absolutely. We'll see you guys next time.